Hello, hello everyone. I hope you are studying the consumer behavior course and you are getting some inputs from it. So, you have put some questions here which I am going to discuss. Some questions like what are the benefits of consumer behavior? That is the first question which I receive. In benefits means unless you know the behavior of the consumer, you cannot plan for your marketing mix. If you have to set your price, you should know the affordability of the consumers. If you have to design your product, then also you should know what are the characteristics of the product which customer is looking from the product. Okay. Then for distribution also, where you can get the customer. For promotion, what kind of sentiment of the customer you should look for. So, that is how even if you look at the first session, we have discussed there in the implications of consumer behavior in marketing. So, actually in all aspects of marketing, consumer behavior is extremely relevant. Without the knowledge of consumer behavior, you will not be able to shape any marketing policy or any marketing strategy as such. So, that is the first answer. Hope this answers your query. Then regarding the book which you have asked, any standard consumer behavior book which is there in the market which you can follow, like the one of Kanok Shipman, that is one book. Then another book Loudon and Delabita, another book is my own book, that is Srabanti Mukherjee, my own book. So, these are different books which you can follow, either of the books you can follow. Then the next question which I find is the implication of consumer behavior in retail industry. A very valid question and extremely important question. Yes, retailing is one of the emerging domain in today's arena, and in retailing actually you need to, there are two ways of understanding the consumer behavior. One way is you see a lot of online if you are talking about online retailing, then you can see the reviews of the customer over a period of time in Amazon, in eBay, where customers are writing about different products. So, those those reviews will give you an idea what kind of products customer is looking for, what exactly the complaints they have about the product, what are the suggestions they have about the product, you can revise it accordingly. Even your pricing, your discount scheme, everything they will write something or the other about it, and you can accordingly revise your strategies and policies. So, this is all about your that online retailing. Offline retailing also we do lot of analysis, like where to place which product in a particular retail store, for example, which we call as visual merchandising. For example, I am telling, like say some toffees, chocolates, these are usually kept, if you go inside more or some other big bazaar or somewhere, you will see near the retail the payment counter we have some toffees and chocolates kept. The reason is, with the chillers or the waiting time in the queue, you can see those things and you can purchase, because these products are usually an impulse purchase products. We do not plan for buying these products and go and buy it. So, this is where this is one aspect of merchandising the product. Second aspect is retailer, the sales also depends on the retailer, how you train your retailers, how do you motivate your retailers to keep your product, to promote your product. So, that is how the understanding of consumer behavior is extremely important for the retail industry. Coming to your next question which I am seeing here is what is the use? I have already explained. For all domains of marketing, actually the knowledge of consumer behavior is extremely important, and I ask you to see the first day's slide. First day's PPT will give you an understanding of how consumer behavior is relevant for marketing. Some of you have asked the questions regarding your payment and all these things. So, those things are really out of my scope, because these are all administrative issues, the NPTEL authorities will be able to tell you. I am only handling the subject related issues. Another one is, what are the patronage motives? Obviously, one is for example, if I do a patronage of any brand in the online forum or offline forum, probably one issue is my own altruism. Okay, that altruism means if I am satisfied, I want to tell about that product to somebody, and if I am not satisfied, then also I have grievances, which is negative altruism. So, for that also I try to communicate to people and tell about the product. So, positive and negative patronage we can do in this particular. So, that is the motive actually, but sometimes nowadays marketers, they ask some of the consumers to do the patronage on behalf of them. So, those can be some some valued customer whom they are asking. So, they can give some payment on the basis of that. Even if not payment, they can give some kind of mileage, some featuring them in some advertisements or something. So, that, but basically it is either to kind of to, it is mainly altruism, and it is talking about the product from the customer. So, that is the basic motive of patronage ideally. Yes, any other questions from your side? Does the consumer awareness, I am not sure exactly what you want to know by consumer awareness, but consumer awareness, if you try to say, that is one of the stage of hierarchy of effects model, when the consumer first come to know about the product. When the advertisement is shown or the billboard you are seeing, that time the first time you come to know about the product is basically your awareness about the product, you came to know about it. The second question which I see, does consumer behavior comes naturally, or the consumers are forced to adopt what is dictated them owing to pre-planned marketing advertisements. Okay. Okay. So, yes, consumer behavior may come naturally, and sometimes it can be moderated by the marketers. Like, I have my own distinctive needs for my security, for my safety, so I buy a lock. But then some of the like you say, like when they are forced to adopt, which means it is not exactly forced to adopt, means sometimes certain products or certain services we often are forced to adopt. For example, if we take a doctor's service, if we take a lawyer's service, then also we are making a selection, but in that case it will be forced on us. Otherwise marketers can not force us, they can moderate. Which means say I am looking to buy a car, I am thinking to buy a car, but given some hire purchase scheme given by the marketers, that instigates me to buy more, which means I may have bought it 2 years later, but given you have given me a good hire purchase scheme, I am purchasing it immediately. Okay. So, this is how marketers can moderate my behavior, but they cannot force. Forcing is only possible by certain service which are emergency service, or which are like which is service of a particular specialist like a lawyer or a doctor, where we in emergency situation we have to go to them. So, this is how it is, we can answer it. Yes. Somebody is asking about consumer protection 2019. Yes, that is actually Consumer Protection Act was in 1996, which we have discussed so far, and whatever recent amendments that can be found from the consumer protection site. So, if you want, I can share in the forum the consumer protection whatever is the latest provision which is happening. So, we can share, I share the link with you through forum, so that you can see the updates which has happened. Any other questions? Any other questions from your side? Any more questions from your side? Consumer behavior, how consumer behavior is different from human behavior. Consumers are human beings. So, consumer behavior is a part of human behavior, but it is related to the consumers. It is only angle of consumers, okay, which means that your purchase decision, your attitude towards the product, your motivation to buy a product, your perception about the product, how you behave in a group to buy a product. For example, you want to have Pepsi, but within your group probably you are using Coca-Cola because your other friends are looking for it. So, it is all about your consumption, okay, consumption of certain goods. So, it's we cannot say it is different from human behavior, it is a part of human behavior, but it is related to consumption. Yeah, is it completely legal to even moderate consumer thought patterns by thought changing marketing practices? Unless you are harming really, and you are telling something lie, I mean you are giving some erroneous information to the consumer, then obviously you can tell how your product can serve some latent consumer needs. For example, consumers needed preservation of the product of food items. Godrej designed something which is a low cost refrigerator called Godrej Chotu Cool, which is just a 9 kg and small refrigerator which serves the preservation purpose. So, then they are communicating that this can serve your preservation purpose. So, that is how I had my latent need, but I was not buying it because of certain reason, like the price was high probably for me, or the technology I felt complicated, but in this case it is like a very easy thing which is coming to me. So, that kind of moderation they can always do. Secondly, for example, say Tanishq, when they were doing the repositioning, initially when Tanishq came, it came as a western jeweler, okay, westernized jeweler, very sleek designs and 18 karat gold, something of that sort. It was not hitting the market, but then Tanishq understood that Indian jewelry market is mostly the wedding jewelry market. So, then they focused on they came with the ad of wedding jeweler, then they then they thought that different wedding jewelries are very different, they have to differentiate from the other jewelers, because every jeweler will say we are wedding jewelers. So, that then they started saying your wedding jewelers, when they said that like Gujarati jewelry, Bengali jewelry, Punjabi jewelry likewise. So, which is kind of customization which they have used to motivate the customer, which means the moderating the need towards the favor of your own brand, which is perfectly legal, I think. Yeah, reference book, I have, somebody is asking that any reference book. Yeah, reference book I have already said, you can take any standard book of consumer behavior. One is the book by Loudon and Delabita, which is the title of the book is Consumer Behavior, Tata McGraw-Hill's book. The other one is of Kanuk Shipman. That book is from Pearson Education, which you can opt. My own book is there, the book of Srabanti Mukherjee, Consumer Behavior, that is from Cengage Publications. So, any of these books you can use based on depending on the availability of the book in your nearby market. Yeah, any more questions? Hello, are you there? Any more questions from your end? Question papers are MCQs. Somebody is asking about the question paper pattern, it is MCQs. I am seeing one of the question, very interesting question raised by somebody, though it is not exactly from the consumer behavior domain, but they are writing that when India will develop. So, the answer probably has been given by Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo recently, that if you really want to develop a nation, you have to give money to the poor, should earn more, so that they demand more. If they demand more, the marketers will produce more, and if they produce more, there would be more, the sales would be more, the revenue would be more. Again, that increases the demand, and kind of the employment will also be generated more and more. So, that is probably the answer given by Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo in their latest work. So, yes, that is what I can tell here, though it is not exactly in the marketing domain. Is there any chapter wise marking scheme? Not really. Whenever advertisement is telecast in Indian media, I see terms and conditions apply. If it is not so in Western nations, we lack transparency, do we need reforms? See, it is not about transparency, it is like awareness also. Every country has different law and order conditions, different regulations. So, these regulations vary from country to country. So, in India we have certain conditions for mutual funds, we have certain conditions for baby food and banking products and several other things. So, that the company needs to mention before we buy the product. So, that we do not miss it, we make a conscious call, an informed decision. That is the reason. Are there any major differences or similarities in consumer behavior between online and offline services, since the two are different channels for users? Okay. So, yes, there is a differences between the consumer behavior for online and offline, of course, because when we are searching offline products, we have a different motivation, and probably when we are searching the online products, it is for a different motivation. Let me explain this with example. For example, when we are buying from the online retail, we are probably the variety seekers, when we can see different brands, different price ranges, different colors from different manufacturers together. This is one option. Secondly, nowadays they are using AR facilities, that is augmented reality. You can move, you can see the product also, which is giving almost a real life feeling. And at the same time, in the online buying, majority of the cases you get a huge discount. That is one of the reason, why customers usually go and buy online. And the other thing, of course, is the time. If both the spouses are working, it is very difficult actually to go to the market and buy something, particularly for example, us, we are staying in remote location, it is always not possible for us to go to the city to buy all the necessary things. So, if that is the scenario, these online things are very handy. So, in that case I will look for these 3 factors. One is my convenience, second I am looking for my variety, another is discount. There may be another thing which is which we say that when we are buying from online, we have kind of and also the return facility we have these days for online. Now, for the when we are going for the offline purchase is when the customer is actually thinking that we need a touch and feel of the product. And there is another issue which is like not only touch and feel, some people say online buying, if you want to do, you have to do an online transaction using your credit card or net banking or something. Not everybody is really conversant in doing that, or not everybody feels secure to do that. So, as a result, this is one of the perceived disadvantage of using this method. So, in that case they try to go for offline, and offline also, if you do not have too much of time crunch, it is you can just go and visit, and some people really like to go and visit the shops. Probably they will take some friends with them or group chatting, group shopping. So, in those kind of cases, you know, this offline retailing is more, you say, more alluring for them. So, in this case there are 2 distinctive behavioral characteristics which we see these days. One is web rooming and showrooming. Web rooming is you search everything in the all the products in the online forum. So, then you see that you know you are satisfied, you choose some tentative models in your mind, and then you go and buy it from the offline shops. Probably you feel that if I buy from an offline shop, they will help me for while handling it. If the product is too technical and I am not so tech savvy to handle it on my own, so the shopkeeper might help me. So, if these are some kind of consideration, then you go for this web roaming. There is another issue which is showrooming, which is like this is a different customer, this is a price sensitive customer ideally, which means they will go to the shop, they will see the product, touch and feel everything, but they will buy online, because online they will get lot of discounts, because they in the online they have a limited overhead cost. So, they can give more discount actually. So, these are 2 different characteristics. So, basically what I say is there are in the terms of consumer behavior, there is reasonable similarity as well as reasonable dissimilarity in the consumer behavior of online and offline consumers. Yeah, I guess the next question is also the same. Okay. So, I will take the next question after that. Is there any ethics in marketing? Of course, companies are here to see profits, but it should not come at cost of unethical practices. Does corporate social responsibility is really a prime importance? There are 2 issues. Marketing ethics and corporate social responsibility are 2 different things. Marketing ethics is you are not doing anything unethical, which means you are not communicating any false information to the customer about your product, you are not making any false claim, you are not selling any contaminated product or harmful product in the market, and so and the proper cost, you are maintaining all, you are not attacking your competitors in such a way that it is hampering their revenues as such. So, these are ethical considerations. Now, yes, you have to be ethical these days, because earlier we had a notion that marketing, why ethics is required in marketing. Ultimately, you have to sell the product, but it is not so, because nowadays customers are much aware customers, particularly with the advent of social media and internet. The information spreads very quickly. For example, recently there was a scam related to Maggi noodles. It was said that monosodium glutamate was found, which is cancerous. So, Maggi had a 6 months ban at that time. Okay. So, obviously, so these are the issues which you may face, and this will tarnish your brand image. So, many companies, even some of the Korean car companies have faced this kind of problems, and you must be remembering for this Pepsi, the soft drinks and Cadbury's, they also faced in different times this kind of issues. So, goodwill of the company is very important nowadays, because a small information will be quickly spread to everybody within a minute by social media. If I buy from Amazon and the product is faulty and I am writing in Amazon, it is not only my known people who are coming to know at this moment, but this negative word of mouth actually will be spread to the whosoever is my friend or not my friend. It is like whosoever is online at that, who is accessing that site at that moment. Even in the social media, it is like that. So, that is of course, like if you are unethical these days, your brand value is going to get tarnished. So, you have to be ethical nowadays at least. And corporate social responsibility is completely different thing. Corporate social responsibility is like you are channelizing a part of your profit for the benefit of the community. For example, the Birlas are developing the mandirs, the temples. Then you can see the lot of guest houses they can develop. They are developing lot of dharamshalas. So, these are, or in the higher education they can channelize, they can sponsor some of the candidates probably for higher education. So, these are the schemes which is corporate social responsibility, which projects you in the mind of the customer probably as a benevolent marketer. That is it, but these two are different angles. Yes, anything else you want to ask? Any questions from your end? Hello, any question from your end? I am still waiting for your questions. If you have any questions on the course. Okay, so we will wait for another 5 minutes. So, if you have any question, you can ask. Uh, yeah, you have asked that do we need to make our laws stricter for companies who practice unethical modes of promotion? Yes, of course. But our Indian constitution, the laws which we have, the corporate laws, which is also quite stringent, but the thing is the customer should complain about it, unless see our legal system is like that, somebody has to complain, somebody has to register the complaint. For example, we have lot of unethical practices in the terms of directly attacking another company during promotion. So, competing brands. So, unless the competing brand is raising the complaint, it is difficult actually to stop this thing. So, the customer also have a customer forum, they have a national forum and all this thing. So, consumer court. So, unless they are vocal, then it is difficult actually to really improve the situation. Yeah, like there are multiple techniques to influence consumer behavior in online markets, even to the point where one company can completely make us develop next line. Like you said, Maggie, it is available even now, how can people trust the company again? This is an unethical practice, right? They should be banned that bypassed their wrongdoings. No, thing is the first question of this Piyush Chaurashia, can you just give it in 2 columns, I mean 2 rows, 2 rows, the question is cutting. The other question is, yes, okay, so like there are multiple techniques to influence consumer behavior in the online markets, even to the point where one company can completely make us develop, I cannot read beyond that. So, anyway, I am taking up the next question first, then I can come back to your question. Like you said in Maggie, it is available even now, how can people trust the same company again? This is an unethical practice, right? They should be banned or they should be bypassed. Okay. No, Maggie, what they did is after 6 months of ban, they redeveloped the product, and then what they did is they gave another test actually. So, it was again tested and then it was certified. So, once certified, then there is no harm is in coming back. So, of course, there was some problem in terms of brand trust that moment, but that is why Maggie, when they did the comeback ad, they have focused on the nostalgic appeal. How people were having Maggie for a long time, and now they have grown up, the children have grown up, but they are same coming back and asking for the 2 minutes Maggie. To the same old nostalgia they have brought back, and it is only allowed, the ban has only been withdrawn after the tests, the laboratory test has certified their batch of products. Otherwise, there should be ban, yes. Then you have like many multiple techniques to influence consumer behavior in online market, even to the point where one company can completely make us develop a habit for using its product. Yes, it is possible, because if I am using say Amazon and I am continuously getting some offers from Amazon, and then Amazon is giving me some since I am buying a 5 discount, like what we say is frequent buying, some advantages, like the companies in airline companies who give the frequent flyer advantages. So, if you give that, then my intention will always be to purchase from you only, so that I can get this kind of advantages. Okay, for example, the oil companies, petroleum companies, they have certain, sometimes they have a cards which by which you can encash these cards. I mean, you can buy petrol or diesel using these cards probably in the outlets which is only of Indian Oil or only of BPCL, the company's outlet. So, this will actually enable you to use only the company's these petrol pumps rather than using other things, because if you buy with that card you will get certain discounts. So, these are certain things which your Paytm also gives lot of cashback offers, and which actually links the customer for a long term, and they can shape their behavior, of course. Yes. So, how do the companies prepare for this? Is it right or wrong? To what extent we can decide as entrepreneurs as both ethical approach knowing these techniques? Want to learn, develop habits for using its products. Okay, that I have explained, but this one is like you are saying, I am not very clear. You are saying that the companies prepare for this money, the legal hassles. Legal hassles, see, it is not that tough. You have the corporate laws, you have the consumer laws. So, if you go through the consumer laws, and if you are yourself cannot go, you can hire a consultant as an entrepreneur, a legal consultant who works in the consumer court, who practices in the consumer court. That person can guide you about the ethical formats or the legal issues in this issues. Otherwise also, what you can do, if you want to really know the consumer's opinion about the ethics, you can also talk to certain market mavens to understand what is their opinion about these dimensions, and you have to be prepared for that. But preferably it is always better to hire a legal consultant to understand the legal hassles. Hope this answers your question. Any other questions from your end? Otherwise, we will shortly wrap up. So, if you have any question, you can quickly ask. Regarding the ethical practice, probably you are asking to repeat. If you are asking to repeat, I am not very sure which one you are asking to repeat, the ethical things or. Okay. If I am a regular Maggi consumer, say I am badly affected by organ degeneration due to monosodium glutamate, can I sue the company? Yes, you can. You can, of course. If you can really prove that this particular thing which is there in the product which you are continuously consuming, and you have this kind of disease, of course, you can, with valid documents, you can file a suit. Whether or not you can prove it, that is different issue, but yes, you can file a case. But you really have to prove that this product contains this, you have consumed this, and as a result this has happened in your your body. Do the companies that have lower frequencies or repeated customers only develop such customer loyalty programs as you stated, ma'am, or there are other companies? No, it is not like those who are having lower frequency. It is anybody can do it. For the lower frequency also you can do, and whenever you have higher frequency also, then also you can, for example, Jet Airways, it has frequency, but they are, this loyalty program is there. Paytm, they also have frequency, but they are using this kind of loyalty programs. So, loyalty programs you just try to do so as to retain your existing customers. So, that can be done by both the companies. Companies decide when they see, sometimes the sales comes in a, usually the market is too competitive, then you have to introduce this kind of loyalty programs. Otherwise, you can like say the program, I mean the products are sometimes the market is stagnant, which means none of the companies are not able to sell the product in a large extent, or your company is a stalemate for some reason. So, that time to boost up the sales in the short term, you can introduce the loyalty program. Is that company obliged to pay for its wrongdoing? If you can, so there is a question like, is that company obliged to pay for its wrongdoings? The same thing happens for Johnson and Johnson for its faulty HIV implantations in India. Yes, thing is, if you can prove, that is what, if the court feels that your whatever you have filed is logical, and it is not only logical, it has to have a valid proof. If you can prove it, then they can take an action. Yes. How is the law stringent in India? Stringent in the, I mean to say, is you have lot of provisions in our law as well, but for implementation of this, somebody needs to raise this issue on the consumer forum, or individual consumer has to raise this issue. We have lot of provisions in our Consumer Protection Act. So, that the consumers can use actually, but obviously once again I am trying to say, you have to prove it with valid proofs. So, thank you all, and it was nice to interact with all of you, and hope you will do well in your exam. Thank you so much.